Carlie Young, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is such a pleasure already. You do some pretty beautiful things here in Boise, not only with yourself, but with your passion and your career choice and just how you perceive the people around you and the world within you. I've noticed that just the few times that we've had a chance to talk, and especially in the last 40 minutes just being here with you. You are speaking very soon at what is this exactly? The fitness festival in Boise?
Yeah, it's the Idaho Fitness Festival at Expo, Idaho. October 5th.
October 5th.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will be there. I'm stoked for it. I think the fights are actually October 4th.
They are.
The night before.
Yes.
So definitely the expo is going to be bumping that weekend for sure.
It's going to be busy in Boise.
Boise is just growing like you wouldn't believe, with concerts and stand-up comedy coming to town and events like this. And it's so cool to be in this pivotal transitional period with our own city growing and watching it benefit the entire community. It's very cool.
It is.
You have also, I am so intrigued to get into this.
Okay.
You have become sober for how long?
9 years.
The past 9 years.
Yes.
This is so fascinating because you seem to embody the wisdom of that journey in your present self, and then you bring that present self into the people you work with, into your career. It's as if your business is an expression of who you are. And with you sharing all of the lessons learned and just the deep, nutritious fuel that we can acquire as people that go through life-changing circumstances. How has this whole process been for you?
Yeah, that's so awesome the way that you put it. It's been exactly like that. Like, getting sober brought me into personal training because I needed to find something to do every day instead of going to the bar. And I wanted to be healthy. So I started eating better and started working out. Then I started going to the gym, and that became like my new addiction, really. It was a release and also a great way to get out of that conscious mind, right? And more into the subconscious when you're working out. And it just brought so much healing. And then over time, with everything that I've learned in healing myself, because as we know, I was putting toxins in my body for an extended period of time, was in a really, really low place mentally, physically, the way that it wrecked my hormones. So taking all of that healing of myself, what I did through nutrition and vitamins and working out and being able to help others feels incredible. I mean, that's why I was saved. I mean, that's the only phrase that I can think of. Like, to have that epiphany that morning, to decide to never drink again. We were talking about divine timing earlier. That was that moment for me. And you never know what it's going to be for anybody, or what it feels like. But when you just can't face it anymore, and you have that, I just had this overcoming shame and said, that's not who I am, right? I'm more powerful than that. And so I'm going to own it, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to do better, and then help other people to know that they can do better too. Just by giving them the tools. Like, that's what we can do. When we learn, share it with other people, right? Bring that community together with collaboration and knowledge, and it feels awesome.
There's something very beautiful about sharing the lessons you've learned, and without any attachment to the response or the results, but just knowing that if you receive this information at one point in your life, that you hope it helps benefit someone else in the point that they are. And it takes so much courage and I mean, I don't even know if it's courage, to be honest, because it comes to a point where it feels like there's no other way. And this is just what you do. And now you're just sharing, and you've acquired enough personal experience to even be able to provide somebody with some insight on something.
Yes.
And then we interpret that insight, and that's kind of builds this formula for how we coach or how we treat the people around us. When you had that feeling that you just knew you were done, how do people know what that even feels like?
Oh, that would be totally individual. That's a great question. I think that for every person that it needs to just speak to you, right? And just honoring that, because I know that I have people come to me quite frequently and they're questioning their choices around alcohol or around gambling or around, whatever it is. Because some people, it's not going to be alcohol or drugs, right? Maybe it's shopping, maybe it's food, maybe it's whatever. So if you're questioning your choices or you're setting rules for yourself, like if you're that person that's like, I'm only going to use social media for a half an hour between 9:30 and 10:30, whatever, that's information for you. Right? So listen to that and honor that. I didn't, right? I finally got to that point where like that was it for me. And I can't honestly tell you the why. Like it wasn't the DUI. It wasn't my son deciding to go live with his dad. It wasn't having my car repossessed. It wasn't losing the job. It was none of that. It was too much shame for me and a behavior. Like you wake up and you don't even know what you did, right? Have you ever been there, Zarin? Right? And just going, And so each person's going to be really individual to know when that is for them. But again, honoring your feelings, not caring about what anybody else is thinking or saying, and getting really clear about what you want.
It's such a powerful perspective, excuse me, and piece of insight, because you explained it so well. It seems to be a gradual recognition for most people. It seems to be we become aware of that behavior as we're doing the behavior, or even before we're about to do it. And
for sure,
the more times you acknowledge, like, oh, I'm doing this again, I don't really want to be doing this, that's more information for you to use for the betterment of your own development. Because if you only do that 2 times, you might not fully embody that and take that as a responsibility. But you feel that 200 times, it literally changes how you feel about yourself.
Yes.
And then our self-esteem goes down, our self-appreciation goes down when we start to repeat these cycles over and over again, and we don't even know how to have willpower anymore.
True.
And so understanding that, hopefully preventing things before it gets to that point is one of the best things we can do for ourselves.
Yeah, and knowing that you can discipline yourself.
Absolutely.
And again, you relate this to whatever you want. You could relate it to alcohol or relate it to food, because I definitely relate it to food now as I'm teaching in nutrition and saying, like, it's okay to not have a dessert every day. Like, can you be disciplined, right? Can you give yourself that in moderation? Do you have that ability? So if that's a thing for you, recognizing it, and then because we generally don't have the ability to regulate ourselves as much as we could, I guess would be good words, then saying, no, you know what? We have to have that discipline. And some of us haven't been taught it, or some of us are like, I'm just going to do whatever I want, right? I'm an adult. I can do whatever. It doesn't matter. Our brains are not wired like that, where you're wired to want to do the hard stuff. Right? You're wired to want to see if you can overcome, to see if you can be stronger, to see if you can push yourself harder. And when we're not doing that, it's just, you're just kind of floating along, right?
Where does meditation and floating and these deeper pieces of consciousness that allow us to reflect and integrate this information, where do these parts of awareness really come into play?
That's so broad.
I appreciate that, first of all. So
Where do they come into play?
Yeah, because what I find in myself through meditation, I understand what feelings feel like. I understand what feels quote unquote good. I understand what feels quote unquote bad. So, how to help fuel my body with the things that actually feel good to my soul has become substantially important for my own growth, the people I'm around, the things I choose to do on a daily basis. So, that's where meditation for me really kind of comes into play with integrating that with discipline and understanding
Yes.
that there is a play that should be acknowledged here.
Yes. And I think that you meditating also brings you to a place where you're able to set boundaries for yourself. Because when you're acknowledging your feelings and saying, no, that doesn't feel good to me, then you can say no to that situation or to that person. And so if someone is not in that space and they're not doing that and truly honoring their feelings, and they're doing something because they are wanting to please the other person or to please their boss or to only take care of their children or whatever that looks like, right? Then they could be putting their own emotions aside.
What about caring for other people? What about having children that you want the best for? How do you balance that?
Totally great question. I mean, you were even talking about how not being tied to the result of sharing knowledge, that was a huge thing for me in the beginning. And noticing if we're going to put titles on things, my own codependency. So that's something that I've had to acknowledge and really work through. Like reading the book Codependent No More was so much knowledge for me to just be able to understand the why, right? Understand the place that I was in based off of situations that I went through when I was young and didn't have any control over, and saying, okay, now I can recognize that and work to not do those types of things anymore that are going to put myself in a position where then later I'm angry or I'm resentful, right? And so taking care of children, there's definitely a balance there of allowing them to still grow and learn and be their own person, but guiding them, right? And teaching them. And I think that would probably be the hardest example, really, with children. But even in like our partnerships, our friendships, family, or even clients, being able to say, I'm sharing this information with you, like here's a meal plan, or here's the type of nutritious food I would have you eat, and then being completely unattached to if they really do it or not, because it's their own journey as to when they're going to be ready to do that.
That concept has resonated with me for as long as I can remember. And it really ties in with Bruce Lee's mentality of, I will provide you with an environment for you to learn safely through good instruction and guidance, but you are the only one here coaching yourself. You are the only one that's actually teaching yourself the lessons. And to understand it in that sense, and for me, Xpand feels just like a platform for us to provide people with information and resources. People might be ready for that. People might not be ready for that.
Right.
That's not up to us anymore. How do you go about your coaching? How do you really go about with your clients? Because each person is so different.
Totally different.
There's still a spectrum of knowledge that you wish to provide somebody.
Yeah. And definitely each client is different. And I just listen intuitively as I'm speaking to them. I really have gotten into a lot of energy work. But most people are really interested in the basics. And so figuring out what those basics are for them. And when you talk about balance, there is this pendulum, right? Of balance. And some people are really good at staying balanced in certain areas of their lives, but that can be really recognizable when you're coaching someone in the areas that they're going to struggle in. So those other areas I'm not going to have to focus on as much with someone. Does that make sense? Right? If they're like really disciplined in, they get up and go to work every day and they spend time with their family, but they're not disciplined in their nutrition or they're not working out. You have people that come in and that are great in their food, right? And they take time to work out, but they don't take any time to recover, right? They don't take any time to just relax. They're just giving too much of their energy. So really just individualized. In that coaching can be in person. It can be online. It can just be talking on the phone. It can be them sitting at my desk. But every person bringing that different aspect of themselves, that I just continue to learn from them and to grow, which is really awesome, you know?
So beautifully well put. How do you find people and how do you help people find other people to work with that don't just want to lose weight or get shredded, but actually want guidance like exactly what you just shared, and to really balance their life and to learn how to approach these different avenues and pillars on their foundation of being a human being? It seems to be a lot of that is in our approach on how to even attract a customer or how we market ourselves or whatever verbiage you want to use. But how do you really begin to bring that melting pot together of the people that you actually want to work with?
Well, so the first thing that came to mind when you asked me how I find people, I was thinking, I don't find people, they find me, or we're just drawn together for
Beautiful.
whatever reason. And even those people that come to me that are very interested in just losing weight, there's so many more aspects that I see in that when I initially see them. There are some people that are just going so fast and so busy that my innate response to them naturally when they show up is to just be chilling, have them sit at the desk. Because if they come for an hour long session and they come rushing in and they're like, come on, we gotta go, we gotta work out, I promise you I can kick your ass in 40 minutes, right? And if that is what their energy is doing when they come in, then I know that what we are supposed to do is sit down and breathe and talk and get really centered, because there's no way that that is going to translate to any focused kind of workout. So I honestly have not done a lot of marketing on myself at all. I just put out pure natural content as it flows. I don't even listen to the whole bullshit of you're supposed to post every day, right? Totally. You have to be active. You've got to do all of these posts. And maybe it's just part of my personality. Like if someone's telling me what I have to do, I almost have this resistance to that. But also if I'm telling myself I have to post, it doesn't come authentically. If I'm forcing content, if I'm forcing things to write, so when I post something, it's been on my heart for a reason. Something has happened that I want to share, and that's when I'll post something. And then generally, that's when I'll get a message from somebody, because it's authentic, and then they want to be around you. They want to work with you, whatever that looks like.
You're just drilling it right now. You're drilling it. For real.
Thanks.
On every example you just shared, on the posting quality over quantity, on the learning how to actually be who you are, not just think we're being who we are, on learning how not just to force things into place by posting every day, or this freaking chaotic sense that people are somehow led into.
And let me say this on that note. If you're posting every day, fantastic. If that works for you, more power to you. That is fucking phenomenal. I hope that I can swear.
Absolutely.
You swear. Okay, yeah, good. Yeah. I'm like, please, this is okay, right?
Yes.
So if that's what you're doing, I'm not telling you you're doing it wrong. What I'm saying is that doesn't work for me. And so if I think that I have to post because someone's telling me you should be posting. I remember someone telling me you should have a website. That was like in 2016. I didn't have a website yet. And I was like, it felt really overwhelming. Now, of course I wanted to have one, but did it mean that I was doing bad in my business? Did it mean I was doing it wrong because I should have a website to be doing it correctly? I don't think so. Right? So if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't work for you, then don't think that you're doing it wrong. Right? Don't be that person that falls off of sharing your story if that's what you want to be doing. And you're like, oh no, I can't post now. I've been gone for 2 weeks. Who cares? Right? Show up and say, hey, it's me. I'm still here. Whatever that is for you.
How do excuse me, how do people get around the shoulds? You should do this by the people they care about or people in the industry. I mean, I've been influenced by that, and it was detrimental to how I felt about myself on my own path, mission, or company. But eventually, it just you gain that actual experience, and you really do learn what works for you.
Yeah.
But in those initial few months or even few years of people who probably are doing it from good intentional reasons,
Right.
how do you get through that? It's such a huge time period.
Knowing that it's their own stuff and that they're doing it with good intentions, and trying to just silence that and get really clear in your own space and what you want and what you know is going to work for you. I don't know who said it, but I heard recently someone said, no one wants to be should upon. So remember that. We know words are powerful. I think earlier I said we could be doing. So I've really worked to even change that, because you could be doing that. Doesn't mean you should. Don't listen to them if it doesn't work for you.
As a parent, that has to be so hard. It has to be so hard, because my dad, he might not like me saying this, but he...
Hi, Dad.
Yeah. Dad, I love you. I know you listen to every single episode.
That's rad.
It is rad. So beautiful. Our relationship is next level, top notch. But there's still that parent in him that fucking cares about me and loves me and wants me to be successful and supports me through absolutely everything. So there's this automated response, in a sense, even from the heart, that's you should be doing this, you should be doing this. And what I've learned through the years is I've learned to not allow that pressure to consume me and diminish my own worth and size, but also acknowledge that these have now become signals on the radar for things to incorporate when the time feels proper for my own position and planning. Because we can't start and finish every single fucking thing at the same time. There's a method to it, and that's what I believe in our own intuition. And then incorporating the information around us is so enormous.
Totally.
Because you have lessons that could exponentially benefit me and vice versa. So to understand that the information around you and these people saying these shoulds they don't hold no value. There's also a lot of value in what's being said, but can you separate yourself from that pressure and categorize, even write them down and look at them subjectively and objectively?
That would be good. Yeah.
Right?
And because then those are notes you could go back to in like a year. Oh, remember when you said that? Now I'm doing that.
Totally.
It's like me giving someone a meal plan and saying, this is how you could eat, right? And then maybe they don't do it for 2 years, right? Maybe they're not ready. And so when you're saying that, like from a parent's perspective, right? Always remembering that they're a human first, right? Not just a parent. That was huge clarification for me, is like, I mean, I thought that I fucked it all up, right? And for me, my son is almost 25. So it's been a long time since I've been in that parental role per se. But what he came and said to me last year, because I didn't get sober until he was 15, if it would have been 2010, 94, almost 16 years old. He was 15 and a half. And so I thought I fucked it all up, right? Made all these mistakes. My heavy drinking was in this 5-year time period. And he came to me last year and he said, you're always leading by example. You're still my mom, right? I wouldn't change anything. Just the same type of discussion that I get to have with my mom. In my experience through my childhood brought me to where I'm at and made me the person that I am. That was huge. But knowing that he can acknowledge now that I was Carlie first, mom second, which sounds even weird just saying it, right? Because you're still human, even as a parent. You still have your own beliefs and your own shit. We've all got our own shit that we're working through, right? So again, the best of intentions when he's saying that stuff to you.
That's incredible to hear, because when I was 24, 25, I officially had the recognition that my parents were also people and humans that have lived a lifelong term of lessons that was brought to them by their environment and their parents' upbringing and so on and so forth. There must be some kind of human response around that, around 25 years
Around
old,
that age?
allows us to actually become adults and be like, oh, fuck, life's kind of hard.
Yes.
Life is bizarre.
And you know what's interesting when you're talking about that age and that progression, and we look at the Overdose. So I'm just going to totally go there. And you look at that age when a lot of people do that imploding. And I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and they were talking about it. It was like, yes, an epiphany. It's like 27 years old is when that implosion will happen. So if you think about that time period when you're no longer a kid, right? And you're coming into that adulthood and then you're working through the stuff, right? To do the personal growth. And if you choose to not do that and choose to not face it, there could be disastrous consequences, I feel. And that's what we see 26, 27, 28, right in that time period when people cannot handle it or face it. What do you think about that?
First of all, I'm 27, so I'm right in the middle of this. And being a person that does his best to do his best, to be as mindful as possible and be aware of the processes that are undergoing beneath the surface, but still integrate and interact with the world around me, but really feel how the world is influencing what's even happening internally, and how what's happening internally is influencing what's happening in the world externally. Like literally, if I was super aggressive right now, that would change our entire vibe and feel of this discussion and how you were feeling right now. There's this incredible play that both worlds legitimately have on each other. And this has been one of the hardest years in my life. Not the hardest as in unable to handle, but hardest as in most forward resistance on what path to choose or what path to be moving on with. And
so good.
It's been so powerful because as you're able to feel in this room, this mission means a whole lot to me.
Yes.
And so to understand the value and the internal flow of what this is happening, but also understanding the value and the internal flow of meditating for 30 days without saying a word means to me, or going to Peru for plant medicine means to me, or undergoing these deep transformative experiences and learning how to blend this intuition and beauty internally with an external world of function. It's been very powerful, very profound, and I could feel how a lot of people could potentially crumble in a period like I've been going through.
Yeah, it would feel scary, change, new, any of those words, right? We're programmed, our brain is programmed to keep us safe from any of that. And so it can be really scary, or to face the sorrow or the pain that it brings up for the stuff that you have gone through when you're a kid, right? We talk about our upbringings. We all have it. We all have that stuff that has happened that really forms those beliefs that we move forward with. But the best thing I think, is acknowledging that, right? Because then it is powerful. When you acknowledge it and work through it, then you're able, I mean, you said it's been the biggest year of growth for you because you're acknowledging it and facing it and doing something about it.
A big part of it too, I don't know if this is just my own personal journey or the human experience around my age, but most of what I've been working on for the past 8 to 10 years has been very internal. And now it's been sprouting through the surface. So there's been a very distinct difference in energy output and where things are just like literally feel like they've been pulling me outward to produce more, not just integrate and absorb more. So there's been that very interesting ability to become more human. And whatever that means, I'm not even fully sure. But how do we embody these lessons? How do we truly embed your sobriety into the person you are becoming and the person you have become? And that's where it might be so hard to truly judge other people, because people have either integrated their lessons or not. And
yeah, and I think that even using the word judge is natural, right? It's again a defense mechanism. And judgment just means that you're recognizing behaviors or, certain outward appearance stuff that you're like, oh, okay, this means this, this, and this. But true judgment then means that you're going to place belief on that puts that person in this box, right? Or that you can't love them because of that. It almost takes away the humanity of them. Yeah.
This is really good so far. What do you feel like are some of the biggest lessons you've learned?
That one for sure is knowing that everyone's in their own place for their own reason, and I'm still going to love them anyway and love the humanity of it. And you just don't know what somebody is going through. That's really one of the biggest lessons. You just don't know what somebody could be going through, has gone through, or the whys. And we always take it so personal. And it's not about you. It's not about you. That was a huge epiphany for me because everything's about me, which sounds funny. You guys don't even know me. You're listening to this podcast going, what? But, as a child, like I always wanted to be the center of attention. That is innately in me. That is a quality that I was born with. I wanted to have my picture taken and put on a performance. And so to realize that, like, it's not about me. When those kids were bullying me and making fun of me in school, it wasn't about me, right? And thank God I got through that and was able to be that positive person and just to get up in the morning and still smile. And I don't, okay, I say I don't know why, but I think I know why, because I wouldn't be here like this in this place, doing what I'm doing. But it wasn't even about me then. And the kids didn't know that it even wasn't about me, right? The ones that were making fun of me and bullying me. So that's a huge lesson, even as an adult, right? That awkward moment when someone says something and you're like, oh, like, were they like, that was weird. They didn't even want to talk to me, or they just brushed me off. I'm just going to say it again, write it down, put it somewhere. It's not about you.
I love how well you interpreted that lesson in the way that was meant for you, because that seems to be a very common theme across people. But I absolutely love hearing how different people explain the same concept in their own world. This is a big reason why I do my best to show up as an open book to every discussion, because you actually might say something that I have already known before, but in a description within the right parameter of language that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can actually absorb this same piece of information from a completely different perspective.
Yes.
Thus and therefore expanding my own awareness on one item, one concept. And it seems to be this podcast is doing that almost every single episode.
Well, it makes sense. Expand.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So thank you for taking the time to interpret and integrate and absorb and really embed these pieces of wisdom into who you are. That's one of the greatest gifts anybody can give another person, is to actually embody your lessons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what comes through when you said that to me is to talk about collaboration and to talk about the fact that there's enough for everyone. There's enough to go around because, in a world full of fitness experts and personal trainers, to have that realization and to know, thank God I'm not the only person out there personal training, right? There's a coach for everybody. There is someone for everyone. And there is not a possibility I would be able to work with everyone, or that it would even be a good match, right? That it would even be a fit for whatever reason. And so being able to have a community of people that have very similar beliefs, right? You're talking about other people saying similar things that I've said in a different language, right? I have tons of trainers and coaches that I've worked with or that I know that have similar beliefs, right? And they just may say it different, or they may come from a different place, or they may have a different niche, right? And then to know, okay, perfect. Well, this is who you're going to work with, or no, I'm not accepting clients, work with this person, or to, just to be able to call them or send them an email and say, hey, what do you think about this? Because that's not competition. They're not competing with me. They are doing their thing and I am doing my thing. And again, there is plenty to go around for everyone. Abundance, right?
Tribe and genuine community. Essential. How do you feel people break from that fear-based approach to there is an abundance to go around? How do people break from, oh, if they get this client, then I won't be able to have the client, then I can't eat, then I can't appear to be a trainer, then I'm not a trainer. There's a train that rolls through in a fear-based state mentality. It goes through thought to thought to thought to thought, and then you are so fucking disconnected from your body within seconds that
down the rabbit hole,
and your chemical output is registered differently because it's following this train system. How do you really help people kind of be more in the heart, see it a little bit differently?
I hope just by leading by example that I can do that. I think fear is the biggest blocker that most people face. I face it myself. Fear of doing public speaking, right? And coming in here and telling you how anxious I felt, which is a good thing, right? And sometimes, again, honoring the emotions and going, actually, that's not fear, that's excitement, right? You're going to have that same chemical response to fear as you would to excitement. So I always remind myself, I'm not being chased by a bear. Nothing's going to kill me, right? Just come in and talk to him. It's going to be fantastic. So truly, when you say that fear is because of, you're telling yourself a story of what it means. And so changing that story for yourself is going to be the best way to overcome that fear and to recognize it and go, no, that's not really happening. I'm making that shit up. I just made it up that I'm not going to have any clients because he got a client.
Mic drop. For real. Whether someone calls that a narrative or the story they tell themselves, you just boiled it down to the concept that it is. Is it even real? Is it even happening? Why are we producing these? Where is it being produced from? acknowledging that. That's why I feel sensation in the body is so important for people to actually feel without fear. If you learn how to feel what's being felt, then you are better able to understand why you respond the way you do under certain circumstances. If we completely disregard this and just sprout words from our freaking mouth, there's such a disconnect that it's so unconscious that the second you delve deep into those feelings, more often than not, you will begin to feel, what the fuck was I doing? That doesn't even relate to this feeling. But then you build compassion because you feel it in yourself and you see it in other people. The more we understand who we are, the better we understand the people around us.
Yes.
It's just a tried and true perspective.
So true.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. That's why self-care is so important.
100%.
You know, and that's why when you asked me that question earlier, I want to go back to thinking about like as a parent and taking care of kids, right? Taking care of your children because you want them to be the best. But you just said it. You just said the true way to be able to care and love for others is to care and love for yourself first. And as a parent, you cannot forget that. And that's a huge example to your children, a huge example to them to be able to see you as a person when you take time to do things for yourself, right? Do you listen to Abraham Hicks?
Not a whole lot.
Okay. Watched this speech that I always say she, and my husband says, it's Abraham. You can't, yes, it's she. And she said something about, you say I'm being selfish. Well, if I'm being selfish, that means you think that I shouldn't take care of myself because you want me to take care of you. So how is that? And I was like, oh my gosh, that was like a huge light bulb, because that's the thoughts that we have as parents or even as people, if we're taking care of ourselves, that we're being selfish. And it's not. Like, it is innately important in order to be able to be full so that we can give to others.
One of the best lessons that I've received through this lifetime would be we heal other people by healing ourselves. There's just no other way around it. Whether it's the most cliche saying of you can't pour from an empty cup, or whatever framework somebody wants to describe this same exact concept. Unfortunately, some phrases become so watered down that they don't even hold meaning to anybody anymore. That's actually why I like to interpret and reword things, because it comes with a completely different force of energy. So that's why it's so important, everybody, to truly absorb and integrate what we're being told and reword it in our own recognition and cognition of a lesson. That it ties it much deeper into your body. People feel that. If I just recite something to you right now from memory, or if I really feel what I'm saying to you, it'll feel different to you. It'll feel different to me. It'll come through this message and across this table vastly different.
I agree.
What are you feeling right now?
I just feel calm, which is really awesome.
Deep gratitude and appreciation for your participation here, and for you and your ability to hold space and ground and pull out parts of me that don't come very often. So thank you for even allowing me to share during this discussion.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's been very healing and beautiful.
Thank you. I feel the same way. It was really awesome to walk in here and feel the really calm energy that you've created here, and that you've created with what you're doing with Xpand. And I can feel how you've had incredible people in here, and it has brought stuff out in me, which is really awesome. You never know what's going to come up, which is why that anxiety, which is even that weird word, I'm like, I'm not scared. I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what's going to come up. And how do we approach that? I felt more anxiety this year than I have in any year previous. And it feels as if it was on the surface of my body. Something that like wasn't super deeply embedded, but just like pressing and hovering against my perimeter of my
Mm-hmm.
aura or my skin, or there's the feeling of what I'm able to feel around me. And so I've done a lot of floating this year to really go deeper, kind of away from it. Not away as in fearful of it, but just to ground deeper into the heart and into the love and compassion. If we get caught up in that worry of what's going to happen, what could
Mm-hmm.
happen, talk about a pull away from our heart center,
Not in the present
not
then.
in the present.
I know I was going to ask you because I'm such a fixer when someone says something. I just want to be like, okay, well, what about this? So when you were feeling that, was it constant, or was it when you were in a certain space or around certain people?
It was constant for a few months. I was drinking a lot of caffeine during that time period. I was traveling a lot. So I'm just, pounding coffee in a sense and not eating the best and not really eating breakfast. So I was really able to pull away from my caffeine intake and just substitute certain things and understand what floating does for the body and the brain and implement that some more and spend more time by the river, which I really haven't been this year. So just kind of trying to orchestrate more harmony in my body. But of course, there were times where it'd peak or it'd spike or
Oh, yeah.
come back down. And I've also been integrating a lot of information from the past few years of my life that kind of came to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So just dealing with life, really, and fears or worries of other people and their opinions, or just really, I think everything is so important to experience, because I really do believe that everything around us shows us who we are and how we behave and how we're able to ground or feel under certain
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. So if I'm able to ground under thought patterns that could potentially destroy my self-esteem or something,
Mm-hmm.
then that's strength. That's an ability to really, be able to get through the fire and the adversity in life. And I just think there's so much meaning in that.
Yeah. There really is. When you're doing a lot of traveling and then adding caffeine on top of that, and that's going to bring a lot of stress into your body. Even if you're a person that can handle stress, your body, your adrenals, and your hormone system are going to have that natural reaction to that. So doing the counter, which is what you were doing, which is like grounding, meditation. I recommend adrenal supplements to people. Obviously, backing off of caffeine is really, really going to help. But even doing caffeine and stress and eating crappy is going to deplete your minerals. Okay. And then if you are depleted in certain minerals, that is going to bring anxiety and feelings of depression in a lot of people. So if you are feeling that, see, here's where I'm going to just spew some stuff. Vitamin B vitamins are going to be essential, and those are going to be depleted if you're eating sugar or processed foods. You could also do a lot of electrolytes are really going to help. And then this is why floating helps too, because it's 4 hours of recovery on the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've slept for 4 hours. Well, what happens when you sleep is your body goes through those processes to really heal your glands, and the adrenal glands are huge. And this is what I see in the majority of clients that I'm seeing, no matter where that focus is, right? No matter if they're trying to lose weight, be healthy, whatever it is, so many people in our society are suffering from adrenal issues. And that's actually what I'm going to be talking about at the Idaho Fitness Festival, is little things that you can do daily to really take control of balancing your hormones so you can take back your health. But I'm glad that you were aware of that, even to be aware of it and to acknowledge it, because it happens to me. I drink coffee. I like energy drinks. And I have to just be really aware of when it's too much, right? And just take it back because your body's going to give you that information.
That was spoken like a true coach. All of that. And even in the way that the information was shared. Like, you care and you have a lot of, information to provide people and to share. That's just a part of your ability to construct meaning to something. And that's so cool. I love seeing that kind of stuff because I know when it happens from me. And to be able to see that beautiful flow in somebody else, it's very refreshing.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's fascinating because there's a few times I got caught in the mindset of, oh, I've cut back on coffee, but this feeling's still here. Like, I'm doing these things, I'm eating better, but it's still there. Because we want those immediate results.
Instant
right?
gratification.
For real.
Yes.
And to truly understand through experience that it takes a while to bring the body back down into homeostasis, especially if it's revved to the freaking gills.
And for your body to trust you. I mean, your body wants to survive.
100%. And we don't have full control over that, but we have an ability to influence the system and help it operate more efficiently and fluidly and more naturally. And yet we're blasted with blue light all day.
Yes.
Or we're checking our phone at freaking midnight on emails. Like, what's so crazy too, it's just bizarre how this is like totally flown back around here.
I love it.
But it's probably pretty cool for our audience to hear too. And just kind of the inner workings of what's going on here. But this has been the most expansive year for Xpand ever. And so I've had a lot more work output, a lot more travel, a lot more things that are go, go, go. And I haven't really had as much time to ground or reflect and really absorb what's happening. So I've been doing my best to really, push on the gas, but also push on the brake when I absolutely need to. It's been a very strategic balancing process. And I know the electrolytes and the minerals are essential and everything good, but it is very nice to hear. It's so nice and refreshing to hear another person who knows what they're talking about confirm what you feel. And that's probably why tribe is so important in the people, whether it's a mentor or other peers in your industry, to really freaking get together and communicate. And this is working for my clients. This isn't working. What are you experiencing? And really understanding that there's a theme happening here and consciousness is changing and evolving. And
it really is. Yeah.
We have common stresses as people right now. How do we combine all of this information and resources and collaborate with people who are also pushing that envelope, whether it's with plant medicine or nutrition or whichever? There's something, it's almost like it's birthing itself. And we are kind of given the torch and how to run with this. And how do we choose to run with it? With honor and integrity and genuine sincerity? Are we going to try and burn it to the freaking ground?
I was just going to say, I thought when you said, how are we going to run with this? I'm like, slowly, right? Just one step after another. Because when it is birthed, it feels like it almost happens overnight, but it's been building. I mean, for you said that it's been a year of growth, but that it's been on the inside for 8 years. And for me, can totally relate to that. I've been sober for 9 years. And at first it felt like it took forever. I really wanted that instant gratification. Like, oh my gosh, when is 30 days going to be here? Right? It's only been a year, right? Same thing with people when they make a change in food, right? You finally decide that you're going to eat healthier and you want to lose weight or see physical changes, and it feels like it takes forever, right? And it's not. Those changes are happening every day, and gradually it's just going to build and build and build until all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, it really did make a change, or it really did happen. And I think that the more that you expand yourself and grow, then you have the ability to slow down and to appreciate. And acknowledging the wins along the way really, really helps. Because if we're just focusing on the shit that we went through or what we thought was wrong or what we should be doing, and we're not celebrating the things that we are doing, right, and acknowledging where we came from, then that stifles us, right? It stifles us just mentally, because we want to be congratulated. So you got to congratulate yourself. You're like, shit, yeah, I did that. That's fantastic.
And to know there's purpose in every phase. There's purpose in the slow times.
Yes.
There's purpose in the watering. There's purpose in the growth spurts. All of it. And it may be revealed to you 8 years from now. But at one point in your life, every moment will feel worthwhile and purposeful.
Like, I never knew why I was supposed to go to jury duty on Tuesday. And that was revealed like a freaking lightning bolt, right? And maybe that's something for another discussion, so the listeners are going to wonder what we're talking about. But there's a reason why you're in the place that you're in. There's a reason why the light turned red and you didn't make it, right? You know, if you want to get really deep and crazy about being in the right place at the right time, but honoring that and just being present and not forcing the results, not forcing the things to happen, and just going with the flow. I think that reduces the fear too. It reduces the anxiety. Give yourself permission to go slow, to not be busy.
I completely agree. Of course, the aspect of being pushed around by a work schedule or society or having to obey to traffic certain time in the morning, it can cause a lot of rocks to be thrown at that intuitive self. And it's hard to be intuitive 24/7. And the brain's also probably a pretty important part about who we are and why we do things. But to really learn how to be more in that body position, in that intuition, and go with the flow, it's so healing. That's the yin to the yang. It's absolutely essential to the full flow of the existence of nature and life itself. It's very beautiful.
I think that we're more disconnected with nature. And I think that we're going to continue to get more disconnected with nature with the way that things are going. You know, you said something about driving in traffic because of a job that you're tied to, but still, who's making that choice? Now, I'm not telling you to go quit your job, but if it's making you unhappy, right? I listened to Mel Robbins. I always love to give credit when something really strikes me, but she said she didn't like to work out. Of course, I had to watch this video. She's like, of course I don't like to work out. She goes, I put it in the same category as washing dishes and picking up dog poop. It's not something that I like to do, but I know that I need to do it. Now, I don't complain the whole time I'm doing the dishes. So why would I complain the whole time I'm working out? Because it's a choice that I made. So if you're driving to work in the morning and it's a choice that you made and you're complaining, then that's something that you can change, right? You have made a choice and you can choose to make it more miserable by complaining and being pissed off about it, or switching that mindset. It may not be the perfect job for you. It may not be where you're going to end up, but you can make it better. Truly. Sounds hokey as I'm saying it, but we know it's true. Mindset's everything. Words are everything. You listen to yourself more than anybody.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Touche on that. A really good friend of mine recently brought up that anything you're feeling is in agreement. You are agreeing to feel whatever way that you're feeling towards anything that it might be. And to understand that, like, oh shit, if I'm angry, I'm actually somewhere agreeing to be angry. How do we separate that connection and kind of look at it a little bit differently? Perceive this piece of information from a more broad level of perspective and reframe, rewire how it's influencing our freaking body chemical output.
Yeah, and you can be angry, right? Be angry, be pissed off. Do that, get into a safe space, be mad, hit shit, right? Scream, and then be done with it. Don't sit in it. Don't let it take over all aspects of your life. You're giving that too much power, whatever that is, whatever you're angry with or about. Get it out. Make a decision to make it different, right? And then don't sit in that shit. Don't let it consume you, because it will. The more that you think about it, the more you create a story about it. The more that you create a story about it, the more you go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. To add to that, meditation seems to be a way for people to pull back from those emotions sooner rather than later. They'll feel them for much shorter durations of time rather than allowing it to ruin their whole weekend, whole week, perhaps whole month. And when you get better at acknowledging that, releasing it, letting it go, and coming back to your center, to homeostasis. I
totally agree. And when you say meditation, I want to clarify to your listeners who've never met me or heard me before that meditation doesn't mean you have to sit there by yourself on the floor, quiet for a half an hour. Okay. You can do it however it works for you. You can say it's prayer. You can say it's connection. You can say it's meditation. And I don't care if it's 30 seconds. I don't care if it's 2 minutes. I don't care if you're in your car driving down the street singing a song. If you can connect and get in that zone, then you are filling yourself up and you are going to be in a better space. If you can take time and meditate and get into an actual routine of doing that, right? Doing the grounding and meditation at the same time. But don't think that it has to be 20 minutes. Don't think it has to be this perfect ritual space. You can do it any way, anyhow, any place, anytime.
1400% agree. Completely.
I think that's what kept me from meditating. And I do a lot of prayer. You can say meditation, grounding, whatever connecting with that spiritual center is for you. But that kept me from doing it for a long period of time because I thought it had to look a certain way. I thought it had to be the way that I saw. This is how you meditate. You sit like this and hum, and hold your hands and, right. And if that's keeping you from doing it, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be perfect.
So much appreciation and respect for that full expression, because that's a big part of our platform and a product that some people listening have heard from me, but that we are releasing very soon, is to show people that meditation isn't just sitting down in the dark doing nothing, breathing, focusing on one thing, focusing on nothing at all. The meditative states can be achieved and performed under many different circumstances. So to hear another person express that, it just shows these pieces of like universal wisdom and love and big T capital truth are showing up in more places than just one. It's so beautiful.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. This was absolutely beautiful.
You are so welcome. It was. I really enjoyed visiting with you.
It was a pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about.
100%.
Yeah.
Carlie, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Very
Your
much.
speech is October 5th.
October 5th. Expo, Idaho. Idaho Fitness Festival. We're going to have a booth. I think it's booth 423 for Balancing Fit, which is an online community that I run. And even the word says that it's Balancing Fit. That's why I created it, is really just to hold space. And my tagline for Heart and Core Training Studio is love, laugh, lift. And when I initially thought of what that tagline was, because I had gotten to personal training and was training for bodybuilding, training bodybuilders, lift meant lifting weights. And now it's become so much more, right? When you love, laugh, and then lift, you lift other people up, and you do that through love and laughter. And so it's become just such a huge part of what I do and what the brand stands for.
Thank you for bringing more meaning to simple words. Depth is huge. Depth is what people need to recognize. Just in general, if we see it in other places, if we see companies do something from a more meaningful place, it makes it much more realistic to do on our own.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will be there for your speech.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah, of course. We'll be cheering. We'll be rooting for you. And it'll be a cool event.
Yes, it should be. It should be really awesome. Tons of booths and tons of great speakers. Have you seen that lineup?
I have.
Yeah, really cool. There's going to be people on the influencer stage every hour that day. And it's a free event.
Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah, free event. You can go to IdahoFitnessFestival.com, I believe. I really hope.
I will find the right link.
It's IBL Events, I know, is who's putting it on. But it's free. So from 10 to 5 on October 5th, come out. There's going to be workouts. You do have to go online to register to get your ticket, but it's free, and there's going to be a ton of really great stuff going on and great speakers all day.
Boise, bringing it.
Boise's bringing it.
It's one of the top fitness places in the world, actually.
It is, yeah.
They got it. Bodybuilding.com here, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's the foothills. I mean, we live in such a profoundly beautiful area.
Yeah, phenomenal.
And it brings beautiful people.
Yes, it does.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.
All right.